Yo, what up, High and Wide fam? I'm Delco Dave. I'm here with Jim and two-time Stanley Cup champion, Flyers icon Joe Watson. How you doing today, Joe?
Fine. Always fine when I'm talking to guys that are involved in hockey or from the Philadelphia area. Love talking hockey with people that know what they're talking about, which is good. So we'll have a good time.
I hope so. Jim, how you doing, man?
Doing all right. I like to think sometimes we know what we're talking about. I can't say all the time, but yeah, we'll just go with that.
Yeah.
So, Joe, we were talking, off the air a little bit here, but you mentioned Detroit's goalie, Thomas Greiss. You said you think he's the difference today. What'd you think of his play?
I thought he was a difference in the game. I mean, the Flyers had some good scoring chances. Van Riemsdyk, their chance to tie it up. I thought he would tie it up, and of course, the goalie made a quick move. But you know what? They played better. There was a little more encouraging than it was the other night when they got blown out by Detroit 6-3. It was terrible. There wasn't much of an effort. Today, there was much more of an effort by a lot of the guys. You know, injuries are all part of the sports. You lose, you lose. You know, you can't use injuries as an excuse. And I know the Flyers have a lot of injuries, but there's no excuse. You got beat, you got beat. Simple as ABC.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I think the effort was much better today. And I got nervous because it looked like they were outplaying them for a while earlier. Then they gave up the first goal. And then again with the second goal, there was two opportunities there where like they could have just, folded, packed it in. I thought they stayed strong. They kept fighting and made a game of it. This is probably one of their best efforts, I think, of the season so far. I mean, do you agree with that? Do you think the effort level was probably one of the best so far?
Yeah, I thought they played, pretty consistent here. I know they were down, but they got pretty consistent. They didn't spend a lot of time in their own zone like they did the other night against Detroit. Detroit was freewheeling in our zone consistently. Tonight they didn't. We had more of the play than they did. But just unfortunate we didn't win the game. But I think it's encouraging they play that way, and I'm glad they're playing the young kids. The young kids deserve a chance. You go along with these veterans who are making all this friggin' money. They don't do diddly squat. So I'm glad they're giving these young players a chance. And Ratcliffe's going to be a player for the Flyers. When I first saw him play about 3 years ago, he didn't have the speed. Now he seems to he's acquired more speed, and I think he's going to be a force for the Flyers for hopefully a number of years.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, and people have been making the same kind of comments I've seen. Everybody seems to be impressed with Ratcliffe. I hope he stays up here longer. I hope they can keep him for the rest of the season. I just want to see him get a long, extended look, familiarize himself with the NHL level. And, I hope he sticks around.
Well, if they don't keep him around, then they don't know what the hell they're doing. Simple as ABC. Put it that way.
Okay. We're talking about a kid, 6'6", 22 years old, former 50-goal scorer for Guelph in the OHL. I mean, the kid knows how to put the puck in the net, right? As you mentioned, they wanted to figure out the skating a little bit. So I'm kind of curious to see to hear what you think here, Joe. So never really put up points in 3 seasons with the Phantoms. I know with the COVID and everything, it's tougher maybe to develop some of these younger guys, especially a guy like Isaac. 2 points in 4 NHL games. Are there just some players who can't put it together in the AHL, but you give them a shot in the NHL, and all of a sudden, maybe their game is more suited?
That's a good question because a lot of times players respond to when they're playing with better players.
Okay.
If they're playing with players that are comparable to them, they're not going to learn as much as they are if they're playing with guys that are better than them. And that's how you improve yourself, by playing with guys that are better. And I think when you're playing with players that are at the same level, you won't improve as much as you're playing with guys that have more intelligence, more creativity, and just have more gumption to play well. I know some of the Flyers. When I look at some of the Flyers, I wonder. It's hard to fathom how some of them respond to plays when they, we get pushed around. We shouldn't be getting pushed around, and some guys take that abuse from other teams. One thing, when we played, we never took any of goddamn abuse. We give a lot of it out, for God's sake. So these guys hopefully they'll learn by this, and you only learn by your mistakes. And the more mistakes you make, the better you're going to be, because somebody's going to inform you what you should do, and so on and so forth. And that's the way it works out. But they have some good young talent in the farm system. I think some of them have got to improve their mentality as far as getting upset when they come up to play a few games and they get sent back down, and they're all upset about it. But hell, they set you down for a reason, because they didn't think you deserved to be here. And I think that applies to some of the players that they have down in the farm system right now.
I think you touch on an overall theme there, like organization wide. I think this team lacks an identity and a little bit of mental toughness, or even physical toughness. Like, I feel like it's been like a decade-long thing where this team just can't seem to stand up to other teams, and mentally they can't handle any kind of adversity. Is that something you see?
Yeah, absolutely right. They play Pittsburgh. If they play Pittsburgh on Tuesday in Pittsburgh,
yep,
that's their next game.
I don't think it's in Pittsburgh. I think it's in Philadelphia, but they do play Pittsburgh.
Okay, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they give that effort today, that same effort they give on Tuesday when they play Pittsburgh. They could beat Pittsburgh. It's a cross state rivalry, and I think that the players are going to respond to this hopefully much better than they did on Tuesday night after they won those two games. And they had the break, and then they come out and play the way they played. It was a Thursday night, and they played that way. It was horrendous. And you can tell by the crowd. The crowd, they're not drawing people like they normally would and should be doing. And the reason being, people aren't going to pay for mediocrity. And that's what a lot of guys, there's been a lot of mediocrity on the ice this year. And hopefully this game today can carry them on to the next game and go from there.
Do NHL players, do they, for example, what you just said, even though they lost today, the effort was better.
Yep.
Is that something that as a player you kind of take as a positive, and you talk to the guys in the room, hey, if we give this same effort on Tuesday, we might come away with some points, even though we lost today?
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I honestly think they'll beat Pittsburgh on Tuesday. I really do. If they get adequate goaltending, they can beat Pittsburgh.
So you're saying we should bet the game?
Pardon?
We should bet that game then, you're saying?
yeah, right.
Put some money on there.
Well, I honestly think they will. I really do. I think they're going to have, they're going to have more confidence. Even they played well today. It didn't win. That's all. I mean, simple as ABC. But
sometimes
I think
it just doesn't
they
go your way.
play that way. They're going to win a lot more games than they lose.
Okay.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. Now, but overall, as far as like an organizational kind of identity, Joe, like where do you think the organization is as a whole right now? It seems like, they've kind of drifted away from their core values and what they used to be. And I feel like that affects the play on the ice.
Yeah. Boy, I think it affects the play on the ice, and it affects the fans that come to the building or don't come to the building. You pay top dollar to come to a Flyers game. Tickets are expensive, and you don't see the effort. Why should I support something like that when I see an effort such as that? And I think they've seen a lot of games out there. There's a lot of mediocrity in this team this year. But hopefully, they have 34, 35 games, and they're not going to get some of their key players like Kevin Hayes. I don't know when he's coming back, but Couturier's out now, and Ryan Ells, I don't know what the hell's wrong with him. Jesus God, man.
Nobody does.
It's a mystery to me. I mean, how in the hell he plays 2 games, and they played, I guess, 50 games, 45 games this year. He's played 2 games or 3 games. I don't know what happened. So leadership is very important, and Giroux's trying to do the job, but he needs more support. And it's too bad about Couturier, but hopefully he'll come back strong next year. But I don't know why they waited this long for Couturier to have an operation on his back when they knew he had problems. Because if he could have had this operation done 3 months ago, he might be back playing here in another month or so. They waited so long, and then they decided to do what they did, and it's unfortunate.
How does that work? How does that work? If the team recommends something, does the player always have to follow the team recommendation?
Yeah, not really. He can get a second opinion, and a second opinion sometimes, or even a third opinion. If one doctor says this, another doctor says this, and they don't jive together, then they maybe gets a third opinion. But it's too bad they waited so long for Couturier, and I didn't realize. I thought he had concussion, but it was his back.
Does that happen?
I don't know what the hell's wrong with him. It's a hip or something like that. This is crazy.
I hope not.
And they knew when they made the trade for him that there's a possibility that he gets injured, he gets hurt a lot. And he when he first came and he played a couple of games, he played well. I mean, he did play well, and all of a sudden, boom, he was gone and has me back. I don't know what's wrong with Farabee.
I think they said a shoulder, something with a shoulder.
Shoulder,
I believe.
Okay, yeah. But it's frustrating. But you know what? Hopefully better days ahead. Maybe they can finish this season strong, even though they're not going to make the playoffs. They got to win 35, 36 games or whatever you have in a row, and that's not going to happen.
Just a quick 20, 25 game winning streak, and they're right back in the hunt.
Isn't that the record? What's the record? Don't the Flyers have the longest unbeaten
streak? Yeah, the Flyers have the longest record in pro sports.
Yeah,
35 game unbeaten streak. They won 25 and tied 10. And I'll tell you a story about that. When I retired, I came to work for the Flyers in scouting, and I was traveling all around when the Flyers started this streak. I remember we lost our second game to Atlanta 9-2. And then we never lost our next game till January 8th or something like that in Minnesota. And so Mr. Snyder had a big boat, and he was down there in the Caribbean, and the Flyers started this winning streak, kept on going and going and going. And he was down in the Caribbean, and every morning guys would come by in their boats to check to see if the Flyers won, because if he had the flag up there, that means they won. And he was loving this. He was loving this, for God's sake. So Pat Quinn was a coach at the time. He says, whatever you're doing, keep going. And then, so I was a sacrificial lamb. I had to go out and scout these teams. I'd see one team in 3 or 4 times in 10 days. It was crazy. I was traveling all the friggin' country. And I got to the point now, I'm glad this goddamn streak ended, because that curtailed my scouting considerably, which was nice. But when it was going on, I was traveling around a lot. Holy God. I remember I went to Vancouver 3 times in 10 days.
Holy shit.
3 times in 10 days. I come back to Boston, went right back to Vancouver again.
Oh my God.
The streak going. I'll never forget that.
In 10 days.
Yeah, it was crazy. Crazy.
Meanwhile, Mr. Snyder had a great excuse to stay in the Caribbean. Like, I can't come back yet. I don't want to jinx nothing.
You're right. He was there about 6-7 weeks, for God's sake. Oh, boy. Yeah. But he was a fine man, Mr. Snyder. Oh, boy. Yeah.
So, Joe, you mentioned Giroux and his leadership and trying to hold it together. And I don't know, the kind of sentiment around the Flyers right now and the fan base is that, he's nearing the end of his time here.
Yeah.
What do you think about that with the trade deadline coming up? How do you think he feels, or what's going through his head?
I honestly think that's probably affecting him, because, hell, he's the leader of the team, and he's not really a vocal leader, but I think his action on the ice speak very well for themselves. And I think he could be more vocal. Break a stick here every once in a while, come back to the bench and take your stick and bang it on the boards or the glass or something to really ignite the guys. But I think that he will be going. I think it's his decision, because he has a no trade. But if it's his decision, he'll probably go to a team that has a chance to win the Stanley Cup. And there's some good teams out there have a chance to win. And I think he could help a team put them over the top to win the Stanley Cup. And I know one team is Colorado. Colorado were looking for they have 2 real balanced lines. They're looking for a third good line, and Giroux going there. Mind you, they got some good young players in their farm system and so on and so forth. Or maybe they get a player or 2 off the initial team right now. That would help the Flyers, because the Flyers have got to be in a rebuilding stage. They're certainly not going to win with what they have now. And if the Giroux did go, that means that Couturier would probably be the captain. A lot of people always said Couturier should be the captain the last few years, and he rightfully so does deserve to be a captain. If Giroux is traded, I'm pretty sure they will name him the captain.
So you mentioned Couturier being the captain. If Giroux goes and Couturier doesn't play this season, what other leaders do you think the Flyers have? Who would step up? Who do you think would wear the C the rest of the year if Couturier ain't there?
Oh, boy. One of the assistant captains, I don't recall who all the assistant captains are, but it would have to be one of the assistant captains. Maybe one of the assistant captains be a captain one game, and then another assistant captain be a captain the next game. But I really don't know who. You got to have somebody that goes out and gives an effort every night, like Scotty Lawton. Scotty Lawton. Scotty Lawton, the guy goes out and plays hard pretty well every night. He took it to heart today when they got beat there the other night. He took it to heart, and he really played well today. He did. Could have had a couple more goals, but there are a few players out there. Maybe Kevin Hayes might be. I don't think Kevin Hayes won't be back, so I doubt very much if he'll be. Well, he might be back, but if he comes back, he might be named the captain until next year. But Couturier deserves to be the captain if Drew's no longer here.
Yeah, Lawton had a great game, and he is wearing the A right now. And he's actually been – some people have batted his name around as possibly wearing the C at some point. So I agree with you. I think Lawton will be the guy that if Couturier is not there, to be him for the rest of the season.
Absolutely right. Yep.
Here you go, Joe. You got a fan in the comments. Joe Watson, the best.
Oh, really?
There you go.
Joe Smithers. Oh, my God. Where's that from? Do you know?
I believe Voorhees. It's so Jack Smith is one of our co-hosts. I believe that's his father.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he watched you growing up there.
Oh, isn't that nice? Yeah. Oh, great.
He still got fans today. He must have been a popular guy, huh?
I don't know. I don't know. Wonderful.
Yeah, good stuff. So you mentioned Hayes. They mentioned during a press conference yesterday, 50-50 chance to come back this season.
Oh.
I believe, and Dave, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I know that he's had at least 2 surgeries already on whatever the issue is. They're talking about potentially a 3rd or a 4th, if I don't have the number right. What's going on there? How does that happen?
That is really, really bad. Somebody made a misdiagnosis.
Yeah.
Somebody misdiagnosed the problem. I don't know who I imagine it's the doctor that did the operation. I think somebody misdiagnosed that. That shouldn't happen. Holy mackerel.
That's a lot.
Maybe another one, but not another 2 or whatever you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's misdiagnosis. It really is.
I mean, you go under the knife once.
Huh?
If you go under the knife once, that's a big deal. If you're going under the knife 3 and 4 times in a calendar year, there's a problem with somewhere. There's a problem.
You know what? Yeah, that really is a problem. Somebody isn't doing their job. I know they changed doctors a year and a half ago because Penn's an advertiser of the Flyers. It used to be Jefferson, and now they have Penn. And I don't know who the Penn doctors are, but there's a misdiagnosis there someplace. Somebody made a mistake, and
Sure.
And that might be the same with Ryan Ellis. It could be the same with Ryan Ellis.
Yeah.
Same situation. So, I don't know. I'm not around there anymore. I was relieved of my position a year ago, this past February the 8th, been there 54 years. And so I'm no longer involved. So I don't know what's going on, but that was a misdiagnosis.
That's just way too much, right?
Yeah. It's not good. That's not good.
Even for a regular person, let alone, a guy making $7 million, supposed to be a cornerstone of your franchise, and he's going under the knife 4 times in a year. Like, come on, there's something weird going on there.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I know when I broke my leg in 13 places, 1978, and I had 9 operations, so that was understandable because I had so much reconstruction and work on it and everything else. And
oh my God!
But yeah, there's something wrong there. Somebody made a mistake, or somebody's making mistakes.
Yeah, it seems that there's multiple mistakes between Ellis, Couturier, Hayes. Brassard has been injured, come back for 1 game, and then been out again 3 different times this year. Injured.
Was he? I didn't see the whole. Did he play today, Brassard, or not? No.
Nope. He played in the last game. He was hurt, came back, played in the last game, got hurt again, didn't play today. 3 times he's come back for 1 game and then been out again.
Oh, well, you know what? It'd be very frustrating as an athlete, and it's hard for the coaches. Doesn't know what he has, who he can play, and who's going to, doesn't know all these injuries. It's very difficult to set a lineup when you don't know who's playing and who's not playing. And I don't know what happened to Brassard. I have no idea. But I'm glad I'm really glad they're playing these young kids.
Yeah.
I really am. Some of them have an attitude. I heard some of these guys have an attitude that were up and now down. They're back down there in the farm system in Lehigh. And if you have an attitude, you don't deserve to be in a goddamn Flyer team, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, interesting. Because I was thinking attitude the opposite way, like a good attitude. You're talking a negative attitude.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Negative attitude. A good attitude is great, yes, but negative, no. No. And if I was a general manager, I'd certainly get rid of these goddamn guys that have a negative attitude about the thing, because it's always going to be this and that and everything else. And it's not my fault. It's not my fault, or it wasn't my fault on that, or whatever, you know. And yeah.
Interesting. So, I mean, I'm going to take a guess. I'm not going to say the name out loud, but I'm assuming it's somebody that we've seen up and down in the lineup the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's disappointing, you know. And,
oh, sure it is. Absolutely right.
When we watch a team like the Red Wings today, you know, a guy like Moritz Seider, Lucas Raymond, even Zadina potted a goal tonight. It was a very pretty goal too.
Yeah.
We're seeing these kids come into the league and excel. I mean, I know they were all higher picks towards the beginning of the draft. I think 4, 6, and 6. I believe they were all picked. I know some of our talent's been picked middle of the draft or towards the end, but not just so. Talent is one thing. There's no excuse for not working hard, though. And I think you guys would agree.
Correct.
And you know the way that I see other teams' younger players bust their ass compared to some of the guys in the Flyers organization, I'm like, what's the disconnect here? What's the problem? What's the excuse for not working hard? I'm not understanding that. You know, and if it's attitude, it makes sense.
They think they're the high and the mighty, where things will come to us. Well, you know, Flyers have made some draft picks that haven't worked out, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how many years are going to give these guys a chance. But, you know, I want to take you back. I don't know if you remember when Bob Clark came out and said something about Hextall in the draft, when they drafted the kid out of the centerman, the big centerman.
Nolan Patrick.
Nolan Patrick. My God, you see the guys who are available after Nolan Patrick?
Every day we think about this.
All the scouts. I heard the scouts wanted Cale Makar, and Hextall said, "Well, you know, we got Provorov. We don't need another defenseman." Holy mackerel!
He's averaging almost a point a game. Cale Makar is averaging nearly a point a game over his first 142 games. 142 games played, 138 points. We didn't need that. We didn't need that.
That is just not doing your job. I mean, the scouts are all upset. Some of the scouts that recommended they take this Makar, I think they all did. And I'm glad Clark came out and said that too, because it's kind of hurt the organization for a few years now. Just think if we had this guy. I know he's not a good defensive hockey player, but he's a hell of a, you know, he has the puck all the time. You can't catch it. He can shoot the puck. He's smart. Just imagine he was with the Flyers. Holy mackerel.
At the very least, he's putting butts in seats. You know, it gives you a reason to watch the game every night.
Right.
You're echoing a big segment of the fan base, and a lot of people talk about that. We think the Hextall era set this franchise back. Like, we feel the missed draft picks, you know, not maintaining a quality NHL roster. We just think that it set the organization back. And I think you touched on culture a little bit ago. I think it almost set in kind of like a losing kind of culture. Like, losing was okay because we were rebuilding. And once that sets in, I think that's difficult to break that. You see franchises stuck at losing seasons for decades because of that kind of mindset gets set in that losing's okay.
You know what? Excuses are for losers. And I'll put it there. Excuses are for losers. You lose, you lose. You win, you win. You can't accept excuses. There are no excuses. And it seems like we have a tendency to sometimes make an excuse. Well, we got this guy out, that guy out. Other teams go through the same thing. Other teams gone through I remember watching a game one night. Nashville had 8 players out, and they had a chance to cancel the game. They could have canceled the game. They'd elect to play it. They brought all these young kids up from their farm team in Milwaukee, I think it is. Right, they won the game 3-2. Some of the 2 players they brought up, 2 of the players they brought up scored goals for credit. They won 3-2. I don't recall who they were playing. I says, boy, that's a hell of an accomplishment for a team that missing all these players and go out there and beat a good team. And like I said, I've always maintained excuses are for losers. You win, you win, you lose. And I hate excuses. Hate friggin' excuses. I think sometimes we have a tendency to make too many excuses. And then when you say these things, then the players accept it. Well, that's the way the management thinks, that we got too many injuries or have an excuse. So then they accept the excuse because the management said this. whatever it may be. And that's bad. It's a bad, bad, bad trend. It really is.
I agree with you, Joe. I think the organization, like you said, you mentioned management's, enabling it basically. And I think that stems from an organization culture. I think they've gotten away from what they used to be. And you mentioned how you're no longer there involved with the franchise. I think a lot of the alumni feel the same way, that there's just been this disconnect from the history of the Flyers and what they stood for and the kind of standard they used to carry to what they are today. I feel like it's just been declining, and it starts at the top and goes on down.
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think they have some good hockey people in various roles in the company, but I don't think they have enough good hockey people, enough good management people that should be in, that are in positions that they should maybe be in, and I'm not going to name names. I think that, if you just look around, you see what's going on, you can figure that out yourself. But there hasn't been a lot of good. I mean, the first round draft pick, Morgan Frost. I think wasn't Hextall drafted him?
Yep.
Yes.
Hextall drafted him. Holy mackerel. There's a guy, when he was leading the OHA in scoring, when he was playing, you think that the guy come up, he would light it up. Well, he hasn't lit it up. I don't know about his attitude. I don't know, though. I've never met the guy. But I think that his attitude should be a lot better than it really is. He should be exerting himself more on the ice when he does play in a game. I remember he scored his first goal against Florida. I think it was in Florida, or maybe in.
No, you're right. It was Florida.
It was Florida, yeah.
Yep.
And he flipped it way up top. I mean, what a goal! That was a hell of a goal. I thought, boy, this is nice. We're going to be able to watch this guy for the next 10 years. Well, something happened to his attitude, because he certainly isn't the same player. And I don't know if he's been hurt or what, but he just doesn't exert himself enough.
Now we've mentioned, Joe, about how some of these draft picks haven't panned out and haven't developed the way we wanted to. Do you think that falls more on the player, like just today's younger players and the youth that we have today? Or do you think that falls more on the Flyers coaches and the development staff? Like, are they not bringing the best out, and they're not putting the players in the best position to succeed?
You know what? I think that's a great question. I think that, I don't know how to respond to that. I think that the players got to take the responsibility. The coach gives you the tools. They give you the play, what they want you to do, and how they want you to play. And I think that falls on the player. Now, if the player doesn't perform, then they have the right to set him down or sit him down for a while and try to explain to him what they expect out of him. And so in essence, I think that it's more responsibility on the players than it is the management, that's for sure. As long as they give you a chance to come out and play, and you get a chance, and you don't perform, it's on you. It's not on the management.
Now we had Theo Fleury on like a week back, and he mentioned something about players coming up these days. Once they have that kind of talent, they start getting coddled pretty much. When it's identified at a young age, he mentioned players getting like their own dressing room, own locker room growing up,
really?
And then when they get to the NHL, they end up dealing with adversity for the first time, and they don't know how to handle it because they never actually dealt with that, because they were set apart and got the superstar treatment from when they were kids, and that affects them when they get here. Is that something that you see?
I have never heard that. That's the first time I've heard that, having their own dressing room. Oh my God, there's something wrong with that right there. That is right there. There's something wrong. Okay, so you give a guy his own dressing room, and other players think of that. Okay, well, he's our leader, then I guess he's going to lead us. Let him go out and do everything. That is really, really bad. That I don't agree with that 100. I wouldn't agree with that 100%. The guy has his own dressing room and he doesn't. He's not dressing with his teammates. That's not a team. That's not a team. That's an individual that has his own group, own little thing. But he's not part of the team as far as I'm concerned. I wouldn't accept that. I'll never forget when we played the Russians in 1976. And everybody thinks Bernie played in that game against the Russians when the Russians walked off the ice. And we beat them 4-1. We could have beat them 10-1 if Tretiak hadn't played well. And Bernie, I remember Bernie come out and saying, he says, no commies are going to shoot at me. So they set him down in Jamaica for 3 days. But we had to sit home and play this bloody game. And I was I went and raised hell with Keith Allen, our general manager. I said, that's bullshit, Keith. He's all part of the team, just like we're all part of the team. We're a group. He shouldn't be given that privilege to go down there. What does that say to the rest of the guys? And the guys, the guys were all upset about it. I mean, a lot of guys, I was upset about it. And I went and told manager about it, what I thought. That was bullshit. And today, a lot of people think Bernie played in that game. It was Wayne Stevenson. Probably we outshot him 49-13. And if Tretiak hadn't have played well, we would have beat him 10-1. And let me tell you another story about that. I know we're getting off the beaten track, but I come out of the dressing room, and I had a little flyer hat on. Maybe $2 hat. And the Russian comes out of his dressing room. He has a big Russian Cossack hat on. So he comes over and he goes like this. He points to my hat. You want my hat? Yeah, hot. I said, okay. So I'll take your hat. So I got a $250 hat, and he got a $2 hat. And I still have the hat today, for Christ's sake. The Russian Cossack hat, I still have it.
That's awesome.
So that was a good deal for me.
Yeah, pretty good. Those things are warm too, aren't they?
Yeah, darn right they're warm. Yeah, they are. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever been to Russia. Russia gets pretty cold. We were in Russia 4 years ago, and it was pretty cold over there.
I bet.
Yeah.
Joe, well, that's we love hearing those stories, man. I didn't even know about Bernie going down to Jamaica and whatnot, but at least you guys took your frustration out the right way. You took it out on the Russians.
Freddie defies. Freddie said I remember we were in Toronto on a Thursday night. Now Thursday we beat Toronto, and we weren't playing until Sunday afternoon. So after the game, we're getting on the bus, and all these people are outside. They're normally out booing us, throwing things at us. They're all encouraging us, you got to beat the Russians. You got to beat the Russians. Got to beat the Russians. We never thought much of it, but we had 3 days to prepare for it, But that's the first time I ever heard fans in Toronto cheer for us to beat the Russians. And of course, Freddie defies. So Saturday afternoon, in the old Blue Line Club in the Spectrum, we had a banquet, and both teams were there. And they started introducing the Russians. They were getting light applauses. And then they start introducing the Flyers. They come to number 8. And all of a sudden, there was a murmur amongst all the Russians. They were looking around to see where this guy was. Schultz. And we knew they were nervous. So Freddie divides the system. He says, they have the Iron Curtain in Russia. We're going to show them the Iron Curtain in North America. And what I want my defense to stand up between the blue line and center ice. As the Russians were coming at us, he wanted the defense to get up there and challenge him, try to throw him off stride or whatever, hopefully pick up a loose puck and be going the other way. And we'd pick up a loose puck and go the other way, and the Russians are coming at us. So if you give them a quick move, you're right by them. And we dominated that. And then it got to the point in the game, the Russians couldn't penetrate our center ice with the blue line. They started shooting the puck in their zone, in the offensive zone, because they just couldn't penetrate. And of course, we dominated the game. But I had never seen a Russian team play that way before. Even when we were in Russia here 3-4 years ago, they always want to control the thing, and the rinks are much bigger over there. Ice surface is much bigger. And they play the same way as they did, 30, 40 years ago. But Freddie divides a system, and he says, we're going to show them what it's like to play hockey in North America. And, they beat all the top teams. They played Montreal. They tied Montreal, but they beat everybody else. And so it was up to us to hopefully uphold the prestige of hockey in North America, which we did.
I don't think we're ever going to see something like that again.
Yeah. I think you're right, James. Yeah. Because so many Russian players are playing over here now,
Yeah.
And the teams over there aren't as good as they used to be. The Soviet Red Army team was as good as any team in the world. And they had so many skilled players. I'll never forget in 1972. Were you guys around in 72?
15 years after 72.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, anyway, they had the Canada Cup Series in 72, eh? And Clarkey was a guy that they picked up, so the series is 3-2 going to Russia. And the Russians are leading the series. And Harry Sinden comes in the dressing room when they open up in Moscow. He comes in the dressing room. He says, boys, we're not going to win this series if somebody doesn't get Karmelov. We can't let him control the play like he has in North America. Clarkey says, I'll take care of him. So Clarkey two-handed him across the ankle, broke his ankle, and Canada wins the damn thing. Yeah, good old Clarkie.
That's one way to do it, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, hey, hook or by crook, you want to win, man. Hook or by crook, you do whatever you can to win. And that's the way we looked at it too when we played our Broad Street Bully team. If they're going to beat us, they're going to beat us the way we want to. You know, we want to show them that's not going to be that easy next time they beat us. And we believed an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and that's the way we played. You know.
Yep.
Probably the best era of Flyers hockey. Historically, definitely the most successful. You guys were a bunch of characters and successful, and I changed the game. You guys literally changed the way professional hockey was played with your guys' success.
Well, you know what? When you look at our team, the Broad Street Bullies, okay, but Boston was a big physical team. St. Louis was a physical team, and I'll tell you when this started. When we played St. Louis in 1968, the first year in the playoffs, we got beaten 7 games. It was very physical. They beat us up. We had a lot of small guys. And I'll never forget Mr. Schneider coming in and saying he told the general manager that I want big guys that can play as well as handle things when things get out of hand on the ice. So thus the Broad Street Bullies were being thought of at that time. And of course, in 1972, it came to fruition. But Mr. Snyder said, we're not going to get pushed around again. And we lived by that for years and years and years. And he wanted a team that could play. And you know what? When you look at Boston, they had a lot of big guys and tough guys, as well as St. Louis. And we used to have battles against them. But, it's an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And the reason we were successful is because of just the style of play. If you're going to if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us the way we want to get beat. God darn it, we're going to go after you and hit you and everything else. And if you beat us, fine, you beat us. But for the most part, a lot of teams were intimidated when they came to Philadelphia. I remember talking to Bobby Nystrom from the Islanders, and I knew Bobby Nystrom because he went to a hockey school that I coached in Kamloops, British Columbia. And so I knew Bobby well. He says they'd be coming down 295 and get on the Walt Whitman Bridge, come over the Walt Whitman Bridge, and as soon as they got to the top of the bridge, they looked way off in the distance on the left-hand side, and they look and see the old Spectrum. All of a sudden, the whole bus just went quiet because they knew they were going to war.
I've heard stories like that multiple times. I love that it's always the same too. So it's true.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
I feel like some of those older historic Philadelphia stadiums had a bigger feel, like the Spectrum and the Vet. It had a certain kind of a certain kind of character and a voice all of itself. You know what I mean? It set a mood when people came in to play there. I think some of these newer stadiums, it's a little more glitz and glamour. It doesn't have the same kind of attitude that those older stadiums. It doesn't have that his history.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. People had a lot when a lot of teams came into Philadelphia in the old days. They got the Philadelphia flu. Known as the Philadelphia flu. They were not interested in playing. They had every excuse in the book to not play and everything else. So we loved that.
That's fantastic.
And you know what? It's funny. I had some friends in other teams, which I wouldn't talk to till after the game, and they they'd come out of the dressing room. They'd say, "Thank God we survived. We survived tonight. We might have beat them, 5 or 6 or 7-1. They were just happy they were still alive." I had so many guys tell me that. Oh God, the summertime you get to know the opposition, and you get to meet guys and that. Oh, we're just happy we survived. So that was worth 2 goals for us, for God's sake. It was. Oh boy.
So Joe, you talked about the Philadelphia stadiums being tough to play. And what about stadiums you had to go to as a visitor that you felt had a certain kind of mood or attitude to it that you guys may have felt a little bit intimidated going into?
Which facility are you talking about?
Yeah, which arenas you play in that had that kind of feeling that may have had a certain kind of vibe or intimidation factor to it?
Well, I remember Boston. Boston. I played in Boston before I came to Philadelphia in the expansion draft. I came here in '67, and it was a very difficult building to play in. because the rink wasn't that big, so you had to get back in your zone and get the puck out of there quickly because they had big guys, man. They would just run the hell out of you. And then of course, Montreal where they're the Flying French. When they come out of there, they're flying like there's no tomorrow, and you had to try to get in their way and be physical. In fact, I think we could have won our third cup in '76 if we had McLeish and Perrant in the playoffs. We didn't have him for the whole. We didn't have McLeish for the whole playoffs. He got hurt in February, and then Bernie got hurt in the very first game in warm up in the playoffs. And we never had either one of those guys. And every goddamn game against Montreal was close. I remember we went up 2-0 in Montreal in I think 10 or 11 minutes of the first period, and we were up 3-1. And then Montreal came back, and I remember they scored a bad goal. Wayne Stevenson was our goalie that year, and that scored a bad goal to make it. And they beat us 4-3. And then the second game, Lafleur scored from the blue line. Stevenson missed that. And then we go back to Philadelphia. Here he had a guy named Pierre Bouchard who hadn't scored a goal all friggin' year, and he got 2 goals on that in the playoffs, his finals against us. Hadn't scored a goal all year. But you know what? I think if McLeish, because McLeish was one of the most skilled players in the league at the time, and I think he's one of the most skilled players the Flyers have ever had. When you look at skill, natural ability, you got Forsberg, you got Giroux, you got Lindros, and McLeish. And those are the 4 most skilled players the Flyers ever had. And if we had had him, I think in Perrant, we could have would have been a closer series against Montreal. Really would have.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's those 4 you just listed. That's good company right there as far as natural skill and talent goes. We kind of been spoiled actually when it comes to having some players like that. There's some franchises that probably wish they had that kind of skill level throughout their history. I just wish we could have taken down more championships with that.
Well, you know what? When you look back, when we got Lindros, and we had to give up 5 players, for Lindros, to Quebec City, and Quebec wanted Brindamore, and we said no, we'll give you Forsberg, and not taking nothing away from Brindamore, but Forsberg. Oh my God, he's a cat's meow. And just think, if we had Forsberg and Lindros in the same team, the power play would have been devastating for other teams. And that was just a move maybe wasn't the right move at the time. I don't know. But if we had Forsberg at the start of his career instead of the end of his career, when we did have him, I think we would have won more cups. Boy, he was a skilled player. So smart and strong. He's really a strong kid. He doesn't look that strong, but he really is strong. Great skates. He's great in his skates and great balance.
The Legion of Doom could have been Leclerc, Lindros, and Forsberg.
Oh, Jesus. And you got Renberg, oh my God almighty. I mean, imagine those guys out in the ice on a power play. Holy Christ, man. Light it up. And, but in a way, that's the way it worked out. They gave up, Forsberg wouldn't come over for another year. He had to do his duty to the government. I guess, you're in the services, armed service or whatever over in Sweden, and you had to serve your time. So he wouldn't have been over for another year. But it didn't work out that way. It's too bad. But anyway, we won a couple cups, and hopefully in our lifetime they'll win some more. I hope. Yeah.
At least one.
Yeah, you're right.
I just want to see one.
Just one. Yeah.
You know what? The best part about the parade, the second parade, 1975, streaking was in. The sights, and holy Christ, man. Beautiful sight. They're climbing these bloody poles downtown Philadelphia. The best part of the whole parade was the streaking. Oh, great time. It really was, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. I remember my mother was on the parade, She was on the bus with it, and she was going like this. Oh, my God, I can't believe what I'm seeing. She was going like that. She was so embarrassed. But, who cared? We didn't care. I mean, the people were happy, and they're climbing these bloody poles with nothing on. Oh, my God. It was a sight to behold. It really was.
Well, we hope to see that. one
Yeah.
day, don't we, Dave? The Flyers win the cup. I mean, the streaking too, but
Yeah.
cup.
Yeah.
Joe, I'm just kind of browsing through your website here, and I came across something. Former teammate Ed Van Imp, nicknamed you Thundermouth. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Well, where I'm from way up in northern British Columbia, a place called Smithers, and there are more wild game than there are people. So I guess that's where I got Thundermouth, to get somebody's attention. I had to scream and holler so they could hear me, because they're often at great distance. So that's where that came about. I got a loud voice, and Eddie was a funny guy. He's one of the funniest guys I ever played with. A great teammate too, Ed Van Imp. What a great guy. But that's where that came from. He gave me that name, Thundermouth. And then I had Pumpkin for a while, because when you get a pumpkin, you want to slice it all up and you want to show your teeth, and of course Cowboy Flett gave me the name Pumpkin because I didn't have any front teeth. I have Mystigate front teeth. So
Pumpkin.
That's where I got a few nicknames, probably a few more too that I don't know of, but
Thundermouth's pretty good. That's the first time I've heard that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Joe. We're starting to push the 50-minute mark, man.
Are we?
Yeah, man. We've just been hanging out talking
Oh,
hockey.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, so the floor is yours. What do you got going on these days? What are you up to? Anything you want to put out or share with the audience? Anything you want to promote?
Well, I'm doing some public speaking, which is really nice. It's worked out well for me, and I got a couple coming up here in the next 3 weeks. Speak of my experience as a young boy growing up. I tell you my story as a young boy growing up and becoming a professional athlete, and what I do after I finish playing, and so on and so forth. And I live by the 3 words: desire, discipline, and dedication. And I wasn't as talented as a lot of my teammates, so I had to devise something else but I tried to play within my limitations, and it always worked out very well for myself. And I think being a defenseman, you got to read situations before they happen. You got to anticipate, and I think that was one of my fortes. I could read the situation before it happened, and then hopefully you can break the play up before something gets going. But I'm doing appearances, doing speaking. There's a friend of mine has a boat down in Miami. He's wanted me to come down there, and he's a New Yorker. He's a Wall Street guy. He has a boat. And he wants to entertain. He's got a 45-foot boat, and he can take 12 people on at a time. So he's asked me to come down there and entertain his clients and play some golf and bullshit and everything else. So I'm looking forward to that. Plus, he's paying me, so you can't beat that.
Sounds like a hell of a job.
All right. But that's what I'm basically doing, doing appearances, playing a lot of golf. Of course, you can't do it in the summertime. My wife and I just came back, or the wintertime. My wife and I just came back from Sarasota. I was down there with the guys that own Uncle Bill's Pancakes down the shore, the O'Hara brothers, and they're friends of mine, and the guy named Bill Whitmore. So we played golf down there, and we had a great time. But you're right, golf. I never really cared for golf that much, but now I got to do a lot of golf because I get invited to go to tournaments and play them and speak and so on and so forth. So it's worked very well for myself.
There you go.
That's awesome, Joe.
Yeah.
Jim, you got anything else, man?
Just the typical stuff. So Monday's show for High and Wide, we're going to have Adrian Dater on the show from Colorado Hockey Now. We're going to be talking Colorado and Claude Giroux.
Good.
Yeah, apparently there's been some I don't know if it's scouts or front office guys in Colorado kind of taking in games or watching I believe it's the Colorado Eagles, the AHL team, I want to say.
Okay.
Doing some scouting over there. So we'll get the scoop from Adrian on Monday, and maybe we can put some things together and figure some things out then. Other than that, that's pretty much it.
Well, James and Dave, was very nice. Thanks for having me, and I really enjoyed it. And you guys are wonderful. You do a great job, and you want to do this again, let me know sometime.
Oh, absolutely, Joe. We really appreciate you taking the time and hang out and talk with us. If you're around on Tuesday, February 15th, check out our show. Lauren Hart's coming on the show after the Penguins game. She'll be hanging out with us.
Oh, good. After the game?
Yeah, after the game, she's going to come on to the show with us.
Late at night, eh?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
So 10 o'clock at night. Holy shoot.
Yeah.
You going to be awake for that one?
Well, no, I'm watching the Olympics a lot, so maybe I will. But
there you go.
Yeah.
Pop in then.
Yeah, you never know.
Hop on.
Oh boy. Well, listen, boys, thanks very much for considering me, and I really enjoyed it. And hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Definitely, Joe. Thanks so much. We really appreciate you taking the time, man.
All right, David, Jim, thank you. Take care.
Thanks,
Take
man.
care,
Have a good
Joe.
one.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye. Yeah.
All right, there he is, Mr. Joe Watson. What do you
Awesome,
think?
Joe. Great. Yeah, he was awesome, man.
He is great. I mean, more information than I thought we were going to find out. Some great stories, of course. Anytime you get one of these guys on, you got to get some of those stories, you know?
Absolutely. I was trying to get that out of him, trying to lead that stuff in, though. I wanted to hear more about what it was like that era.
I know. I could listen to those stories all day. The Red Army stories, the Broad Street Bully stories. Like, those are like the feel good, the feel good stuff. I mean, they never get old. You could hear them 100 times from 100 different people, and they're still good.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. He asked us if we were around in 72.
I mean, if you look at me with the gray and the beard, I might have been around in 72. No. Great guy though. Awesome. Also, another great get by you, Dave. Great show. And you mentioned we're having Lauren Hart on. Is that for the next game? Is that
She'll be the 15th. She'll be on the Penguins game. There was only 2 road games this month, and when I asked her about coming on, I was like, I'm assuming a road game would be better, so they only have 2 options. She's like, yeah, that be preferred. I was like, all right.
All right, great. So Lauren Hart coming on. What's that? Tuesday?
Yep,
Everything's
Tuesday.
going by so quick. Tuesday, 15th.
Yeah, Tuesday, 10 o'clock Eastern. So hopefully we got people tuning in, checking that out. I think the show will drop on Spotify. Well, tonight, tomorrow, we'll get it up on there.
Yeah, I'll get it up right away.
Podcast.
Yeah, right away. Last week's show or Wednesday's show with Bill Meltzer was uploaded today. A little bit late there, but it's now up. So go check that one out, and then check out this one. Obviously, if you're listening, go listen to it again as a podcast. So I have some new content for you guys, dude. Stacked card so far this month for High and Wide. We had Russ Cohen on, Theo Fleury on, Bill Meltzer today, Joe Watson, Adrian Dater Monday, Lauren Hart Tuesday. We still got Tony Bruno later on in the month.
Tony Bruno on the 17th.
I mean, what more do you guys want? We're your home for Flyers hockey. Great guests, and there you go. Odin making an appearance. Speaking of guests, we're gonna wrap this one up, and we'll see you guys on Tuesday.
Yep. High and Wide fam. Thanks for hanging out with us.